I'm Joe Abunassar, the owner and founder of Impact. Been around for quite a long time and been developing players. From started in 1997 when I left college coaching and had a good little run of luck getting Kevin Garnett and Chauncey Billups. And this was back in a time when there really was no player development. There was no coaches on the staff for player development. There was no sports science people. There was maybe a strength coach and a trainer, and then three or four assistant coaches, and their responsibilities were pretty much scouting, coaching basketball, right? So I actually, started something. There's another guy, Tim Grover, who trained Michael Jordan, who's a friend of mine. Tim and I were pretty much the only shows in town. So in 2001, I went down to IMG Academy and started that basketball program down there. I had been traveling with guys and doing stuff, and I needed a home base. So IMG approached me about opening up basketball. We put that academy down in there in 2001. And then it really started growing, and then in 2006 moved out to Vegas and opened up Impact. So what Impact is, it's a complete player development program that covers everything. We have 4 pillars basically. We have the basketball piece, which is skills and shooting and dribbling and all the things that people are familiar with. We have the strength and conditioning, which we call performance, which is everything physically that can help you play better. We have the mentality, mental approach, sports psychology, whatever you kind of want to call that. And there's two parts to that. There's the mental approach to training, and then the mental approach to playing. So some guys are great in workouts. I know you played, so you got to work out wonders, right? Yeah. They don't miss a shot, and they get in the game, and they're terrible, right? Exactly. Yeah. So, and then there's opposite guys who are terrible in workouts and get in the game, and they're lights out, right? So what we try to do is develop both sides of that, of course, because we feel like in order to have achieve your maximum potential in the game, you got to achieve your maximum potential in the training piece. And then the 4th pillar is nutrition, and that's something that back in 97, 98, 99 with guys like KG and Chauncey, we were way at the cutting edge in terms of, I just read something that the Timberwolves were doing this year. The nutritionist was talking about eating based on their workload that day, how much work they're doing and how many calories you take in based on are you playing, are you not playing, are you off day. Well, we were doing that back with KG in 99 and loading his sodium before games, and days off he wouldn't have as many carbs because he didn't need them, and so on and so forth. So that's what Impact is. It's those 4 pieces. In our building, we have physical therapists, we have stretching, we have yoga teachers, we have Pilates instructors, we have everything you can, but it really focuses on the essence of pure development, pure training. Yeah, well, I think they all depend on each other. So if you're lifting weights hard and you're working hard on the court, but you have a terrible mental approach and you don't eat right, you're not getting your maximum potential. If you eat great but you don't do any basketball work, you're not maximizing. So what we've done is we've really become the only facility providers, teachers, and coaches that can do all 4, because it's not, you can go get a trainer in basketball, you can go get a strength coach, you can go get a nutritionist anywhere, but to be able to combine all 4 of them with people who understand basketball, again, you're a former player, so maybe you can still play, I don't know.
I can still play a little bit, yeah.
Former competitive player, right?
Yeah.
It's a problem when the strength coaches don't understand basketball, or you have a nutritionist that comes in and don't understand basketball players, the way they operate, the way they live, in our case in the NBA, how they travel, different things like that. So I think they all play on each other. It's like 4 spinning plates, and you got to keep them all going, or your maximum potential, isn't reached.
What is it like to be? What does it feel like in this day and age to pioneer this type of player development programming that we see all over social media?
So today, in today's Impact, you switch from Billups, Garnett, and Arenas to Lowry, Porzingis, Miles Turner. So we have a lot of good young guys too that we are now grooming up. And you look at a Lowry and how he's developed from coming in the league kind of he was good, late first-round pick, but kind of struggled a little bit, and now being the world champion point guard, 5-time All-Star. We're seeing what happened to Kyle. We're seeing what happened to Chauncey happen to Kyle, right? So now you take the Porzingis, who's kind of like a young KG, and he's got that same psychopathic commitment to training.
Nice.
Yeah, very, very much. He's not as loud as Kevin, but he's much quieter than Kevin. But the way Chris trains is
intense.
I've been on the floor with him and thinking to myself, this is strikingly familiar to Garnett's. Just robotically intense and no bullshit, and just I mean,
wow, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, but when he gets on the court, he's like
business.
Yeah, business, very much. You'd enjoy watching him work out. It's very, very much a treat. So we shifted to that, and in terms of like the player development and what makes us different, right? It's obviously Instagram, Twitter, those type of things are important to growing a business. We appreciate that, and we do have an Instagram, we do have a Twitter. We have kind of a philosophy that when you come in our doors, so we have a unique atmosphere in our facility in Las Vegas where you'll have a Lowry and a Porzingis training, and then the next basket over is two 12-year-olds from New Jersey who are there for camp. So we have youth programs that come in, we have college players, we have foreign teams. We do a lot of teams from the Philippines, from China, from Brazil. We have them coming in all, and the thing that I think makes us different is it's the same for everyone. We expect those 12, 13-year-olds, obviously at a little different level, to take our 4 pillars, take nutrition. We tell the 12-year-olds, look, if you're not going to worry about what you eat, why are you going to shoot baskets every day? You all want to make your 9th grade team or your 10th grade team. It's different goals, for different people, but what really I would say sets us apart is that unique ability to combine everything, and we are committed to a system. It's not let's work out on Monday and then Tuesday we're going here, Thursday. We're on a regimen. Our guys are on a regimen. We have a 6-day-a-week plan that we follow. We have basketball coaches that, in my case, so we build the programs from the court backwards. So as a player, if you come in, we're watching you do everything basketball first, and that's how we determine your nutritional plan, your strength and conditioning plan, versus taking you in the weight room and doing a bench press test, right? Because I can watch on the court and see that your movement is slow laterally. Oh, you want to play Division I basketball? Well, you got to get quicker laterally. Or your shot, you're not bending, you have no squat mechanics on your shot. So then we'll go to the strength department and design the plan based on what they need on the court. So I think that's really unique. I think a lot of guys, you have guys that can do basketball workouts and they send you to the strength coach, and I'm not saying any of them are bad. Basketball is kind of a simple game. You dribble, you shoot, you got footwork, those type of things. So people come watch our workouts, and I think sometimes they're like waiting for that wow moment that made Lowry and Porzingis. It's just repetition and it's consistency. So I think personally that we've stayed committed to the pure training piece and what really makes a guy better than trying to get involved with all the noise that's outside of it.
When you think about your coaching tree, who inspired you the most to really develop your direction with impact and where you want to go as a coach and skill development and things like that?
Well, I think Coach Knight started it all off with the attention to detail, attention to fundamentals. The Coach Knight's offense, which people don't really understand, was we didn't have plays. It was all guys who knew no plays. It was motion offense. When I was there with Calbert Cheney, these are guys even older. You would know them, but maybe you wouldn't even know. This is in 89, 90, 91. Calbert Cheney was the National Player of the Year in 93. Alan Henderson, Damon Bailey, those are the guys. Those are old school. But we had no plays, and it was all based on guys catching the ball, squaring up. And if you watch film of those teams today, everyone catches, squares up to the rim, has the ball in the right position. All 5 guys can dribble, pass, and shoot. The guys who can dribble and shoot better do more of that than the guys, and the other guys screen more. So it was a great basis for me to understand the building blocks of basketball. It was just to be able to not have plays. We had no out of bounds plays for 4 years I was there. There's no out of bounds. Guys just got to screen. Just screening. They would know who to screen. It was never an out of bounds play. People don't believe me. I'm telling you, there's no out of bounds.
Feel for the game.
It was teaching the feel for the game. So, and look, my biggest inspirations were my early clients, Chauncey Billups, Kevin Garnett. I took those guys when they were 20, 21, 22 and grew with them. Al Harrington, I took at 18. He came, lived in my house in Indiana. Teron and Al lived in my basement during the lockout in Indiana.
Nice.
Al's my son's godfather. So I grew with them. And I'm not saying that they're, Coach Knight definitely had a huge effect on me, not only in terms of, I'm not really a screamer, so yeller, screamer, so I don't emulate that part. Coach was great, but in terms of organization and the way that things ran at Indiana with that basketball department was incredible. From the detail, from the top, from Coach Knight down to the lowliest manager. It was like everyone was on point. And that's how we try to run Impact. So if you're lifting with someone and he's an intern for the summer and he's supervising, he's got to be on it. So we want to make sure that everyone has that kind of service. And then look, how do you not get inspired by KG, Chauncey, Al, Tayshaun Prince? I've been with since he's a rookie. So and honestly seeing what worked and what didn't work. Those guys were my guinea pigs. What we worked. Sometimes I remember we tried to do a lot of yoga with Chauncey Billups to get him more flexible, and he started to get hurt tendons because his body wasn't meant to move that way. So I learned a lot from those guys, and now that I've got the experience after 20 some years of saying, no, don't do that, because we've done that before. It doesn't work. Do this, right? So that's I've just been around some. I mean, look at those guys. They're great. Kevin, Chauncey, they've been great without me, but to be able to be a part of what they were doing and help them push a little further was incredible.
After 20 years of experience that you've had with NBA players, draft picks, undrafted guys, making it professional, what players back then and now stand out to you the most that you think will really surprise some people?
That even older guys, that will surprise some people.
Oh, that have surprised people, and then guys that you've worked out, currently that you think will open up some eyes.
I mean, I think like an Al Harrington could go either way. Al was a rookie, 18 years old. He was with a veteran Pacer team, but his work ethic pushed him to be. Al was a terrible shooter when he came in, and trust me, I know I had to chase his rebounds down. And he became a three-point shooter. By the time he was in Denver, he became a big-time three-point shooter. So, guys like that have worked through it. Gilbert was a second-round pick, Arenas, that people kind of slept on, and obviously his career speaks for itself. We've had, look at even Chauncey. I mean, 5 years into the NBA, people were saying he's a bust, the biggest bust in the league. I was with him the whole time. He went from Boston to Toronto to Denver to Orlando, back to Denver, and then finally ended up in Minnesota, where Terrell Brandon got hurt, and had he not gotten hurt, Chauncey would not have got a lot of minutes. Had a solid year, and then signs with the Pistons, and the rest is history, right?
Yeah.
And the downfall of the Pistons, if you trace it back, is when they traded Chauncey to Denver for Allen Iverson. And nothing against Allen Iverson, he's of course great, but I mean, Chauncey was the rock of that franchise during the championship years. So I've just seen a lot of guys, older guys like that really weren't, that had shaky starts to their career. I'm trying to think of some of the later. I mean, Isaiah Thomas was our guy. Picked 60th in the draft, and
I remember watching the documentary.
He's all
Book
over
of Isaiah. When he was at Impact and everything like that. So I like I said, we followed him at his journey, and that's type of player at Next Ones that we love. The people that that have the talent but might not have the exposure or the media backing as they should, based off of non-basketball things. But when you think of the pillars, I think IT is a great example of something.
All those guys out. If you're making it in the NBA, you take care of your body. You might make it for a couple years without it, but you're gonna wear down. So I mean, nowadays, currently, you got guys like Kendrick Nunn with the Heat, who was undrafted. You got Terrence Davis, who I just read this morning Nick Nurse is going to give even more minutes to.
Awesome.
You got Christian Wood, who was undrafted for the Pistons. You got Kai Bowman, who's getting a crazy opportunity in Golden State right now, undrafted from Boston College. When these guys come in for the draft, there's just so many factors of why you're picked high or not picked high, and I'm not saying it's hype, because that's not true. It's these teams are well researched. There's red flags on certain guys. Maybe they had some background issues or things like that, but we know that those four, like Kai, Terrence, Kendrick, and Christian. So Christian's a separate story, but those three, those guys are workers. I mean, when they came in the gym, I was like, I don't know who's picking these guys, but these guys are going to make it, right? Christian Wood was the worst worker ever. He'll tell you that, right? We rated him on a scale of 1 to 10. He started at 2, and Christian, he's a great guy, and he's just he's so naturally talented. He didn't love to train, and we moved him up to like an 8 or 9, and that's why he's making it in the league now. So he grew up a little bit, and understood after he didn't get drafted. He got slapped in the face a little bit and saying, "Oh, I better change my ways." And it's been a gradual increase for Christian, but we're so proud of him to be able to make that change. So those are guys that are really strong players that are we had Porzingis come in a year before the draft, and he was so skinny, and just so talented, and he kept trying to dunk on Jermaine O'Neal when Jermaine was still playing, obviously, at the time, and we were like, who the hell is that kid? You're talking about next one. I'm like, I don't know who this kid is, and even so, the next day, Billups, Lowry, like, give me that kid on my team, because we'd make the teams up, and they were like, whoever that kid is, I didn't even know who he was. Some tall, skinny white dude. So, but man, he was killing in there. He had no business trying to take on any of those guys. So you see that in these young players, and then it shows. And there's other guys that maybe have a little more media attention, notoriety, and they just don't have it. So there's a special quality to the Billups, the Garnetts, the Porzingis, the Lowrys that if you spent a day with them off the basketball court, you'd find them to be much different people than the guys who aren't achieving that level. So one of the big things with all those guys that we talked about is that as they grew as players, they also grew as people. And you can't really grow as a player until you grow as a until you grow as a person.
No, it's real.
Because what you do. One thing I learned from Coach Knight, and this is the truth, that he always said basketball probably doesn't build your character, but it reveals it, right? So when you step on that floor, you're the same guy you were off the floor. So if you make bad decisions, if you're kind of half-assed, it's eventually going to show up in your game. Yeah. And that's I don't think young players understand. That it's a constant. Young, I mean like 8th, 9th grade kids that are developing. They don't. It's just when you train, there's a mentality to it. There's a approach you take to it. There's you're making bad decisions in school or you're acting like an idiot. You're going to act like an idiot on the floor. It just
exactly
happens the whole time.
With this day and age, there's a balance between playing and there's a balance between training, and you guys definitely have the foundation and the methodical approach of building up those 4 pillars. But how do you guys balance between developing feel for the game, skill development, and off the court?
I think over the years we've gone way more to more playing. I think there's a time and a place for the individual work. We have a lot of draft guys that come in, top 10 guys. I want to work out by myself. So, okay. After 2 days, they're like, I don't want to work out by myself anymore. It's boring. It's like, okay, you can only do so many things, right? Yeah. So, we integrate 3-on-3 like crazy. We integrate 2-on-2 like crazy. We'll even integrate, we have a lot of interns that played the game, so they'll guard. Just having that live feel. Yeah. So we build it. We build it from 1-on-1 to 2-on-2 to 3-on-3. So for the draft, for example, it's all 3-on-3 when you go into the work teams to work out. So we play a ton of 3-on-3. But within 3-on-3, again, you're a basketball guy, so you understand. You can really teach. Ball screen angles, spacing, timing, those type of things. And then we build it to 5-on-5. So every one of our clients plays at 12:30, 1 o'clock, whatever time we play every day. And we don't make them, so they might say, hey, I'm going to not play Wednesday, whatever, take a day off because my legs are hurt or sore or whatever, tired. That's fine, but we don't, if guys, I know this from the 25 years, the guys who are real basketball players, they don't ever want to miss the 5-on-5. That's what, they'd rather miss the workout than they would the 5-on-5. So when you get these guys that come in and say, I'm not going to play, it's like, unless they're hurt, I understand, right? Yeah. If they're not cleared to play. Yeah. But yeah, so we've incorporated everything from interns guarding you to live play, because again, you get the workout wonder, the jump hook guy and the host. I mean, look, I put guys in the top 10 in the draft or helped get them there that didn't play past their rookie deal. Probably I can name 5 of them. I don't want to call them out, but the reason is because in a workout setting, man, they were impressive. They just couldn't play.
Gotcha.
That's the problem. So we're making basketball players, right? We're not making drill guys. So you don't play basketball 1-on-0. So we inevitably have to play because we have to build guys who can play the game.
Well, with your 23 plus years experience and seeing guys come in and out and train and see their on the court and off the court characteristics and things like that, what separates a guy that has the it factor that might not have all the hype than someone that might have the it factor as well, but is succumb to all the social media attention and rankings and things like that? Mm-hmm.
I think it's a consistency in their approach, right? And that's an approach meaning to life, to basketball, to people. You got guys who are getting caught up in too many people around them. Guys get caught up in Ty Lue, who's a great friend of mine, who is obviously now with the Clippers, but world champion coach, was a kind of an underdog player when he played, little guy. He says nowadays guys are sometimes more concerned with their brand than they are their game, right? So we need to keep guys focused on. We say all the time, like you've heard it, he doesn't get it. Like, what does that mean? He doesn't get it. It's the money in your career or the success, whether you're an NBA player or a 10th grader, right, comes in the consistency of your approach to do things the right way. So that's also a definition for discipline, right? So when we see these guys who just have no discipline, there's nothing wrong with going out, there's nothing wrong with having friends, there's nothing wrong with you make all that money, you're taking care of people, that's fine, that's what you should be doing, right? But when they start losing their focus on the main piece, it's like just take care of what's really important, which is your body, your approach to the game, your skill work, and everything else will take care of itself. Because once you lose the game, everything else, you're not gonna have any friends.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people don't hang out with you anymore when you don't have any money, right? So, not that they're blowing their money. You know what I mean?
No, I know, 100%.
When you're not in the limelight anymore. So I think it's a consistency to really focusing on what's really important, which is, we tell the guys all the time, you're your own corporation. You're Kyle Lowry Inc. You got to take care of yourself. You're your own product. You're selling Kyle Lowry. Even guys in the NBA that are playing. I mean, Vince Carter is amazing, with his physical. But if Vince Carter weren't a good guy, they had him out a long time ago, right? So it's just how do you deal with all that stuff. So we keep guys. Part of our job is development comes from how to treat people, how to interact with the organization. Even college players that we have that are calling us, I'm not getting any minutes. Just keep working. You know what I mean? So guys make a mistake when they start focusing on anything else but getting better. You get better. Like we tell these 8th grade kids, 7th grade kids, should I go to this event? Should I go to that event? It's an exposure event. So listen, man, just get better. You know what I mean? Whatever's getting you better, because nobody cares how you played in the 7th grade exposure event, right?
No one remembers.
First of all, I don't know what they're exposing to, but I mean, social media, right?
Yeah.
There's no college coaches. There's nobody there. They're not recruiting you until you're a junior anyway. So, if you go to the EYBL and you go in the 15U gym, there's no coaches in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like
cameras.
You gotta get cameras. That's all it is that. So I think that's the biggest difference is the guys who have the it factor. They really have this amazing ability to prioritize what's really important and then still do the other stuff, but it never becomes a distraction.
I know Impact is full service, so you guys do aspiring pros, current pros, college, high school, youth. What advice would you give to the generation of kids growing up in the social media era that could easily pick up bad habits watching highlights on Instagram, Twitter, or playing for highlights? So like, what advice would you give them growing up, if they want to achieve their goals? So
I think it's really understanding. It's hard for a kid today to stay focused on the fundamentals because everybody wants to jump to steps 9, 10, 11, 12 and do the moves. And I mean, who can do those? I can tell you that, having worked with guys like that, they don't really work on those. They just do it. You know what I mean? Like it's reaction, it's body control, it's God-given. Not that they don't work on their game, but it's not like they come in and do those moves every day. And kids are emulating those moves, right?
And trainers are training kids to do these things.
Well, because with the trainers, the more interesting your workout looks to the parents or the kids, then the better they think you are as a trainer, the more gadgets you have. And we get a kid out there, just work on your footwork. So if you remember Austin Crozier, who played for the Pacers, he has a son who's 13 years old, and he has him with us. And he's just so thrilled that we're just teaching him footwork. We're teaching him, how to catch, and everybody shoots the ball a little differently. As you know, you can't have a mono, but we're just how to cut hard, how to set up your cuts and angles, because as an NBA player, he knows that's what's really important. Yeah. If you go, it was funny because my son's a freshman in college, and this summer, Pat Connaughton, who plays for the Bucks, he's at Notre Dame, so he came in and played with the guys. He came back and played with the current players. So he was killing. He was like between the legs, fadeaways, and then we watched film of Pat, and he basically, shoots open threes in the corner and plays defense, right? So it's like that's the thing. It's like so it's like, but he has the ability. So you have to understand who you are as a player and just really focus. For young kids, they got to focus like bad footwork. I go to high school games, and there's kids that can't come to like a 2-foot, it's either a jump stop or a step in with control. I'm helping at a couple high schools here, and that's the kids catching the ball with their body sideways. How are you going to do anything like that? So I think it's really important that they kind of move the I don't want to say James Harden because I think he's terrific, but I mean he does stuff that 8th grade kids in Long Beach should not be working on. You know what I mean? Just don't work on that. But that's what they want to work on.
Yeah.
And of course Steph Curry with the threes years ago. Now kids want to shoot 45-foot threes, right, and pull up from. I mean Damian Lillard
where he shoots the ball from is crazy, right? But that's Damian Lillard. You know, there's some 9th grade kid in LA should not be doing that. You know, so I think it's really important they stay focused on the fundamentals of the game, and it's tough, you know, because it's all again, that's part of understanding what really matters. You know, like when you get to be a good watch the NBA. There's outside of 1 or 2 players on each team, there's nobody really takes a lot of dribbles.
Yeah.
And you should emulate the highest level, right? So all that dribble, you know, I said last year that if you ask a coach, it's the biggest problem in your offense. We dribble too much. But if you go into any workout with a trainer, the kids are dribbling like
madmen.
Like 7 dribble moves. You know, crossover, pick up the cone, put the cone down, backstep. You know, that type of thing.
Spin it on your finger.
I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a feel for the ball. No, you know, but those are not moves you're gonna, you know, any coach would want you to use. So you could do it but again, so much of basketball today is club, where there's really not a lot of structure. So, look, at the end of the day, when you talk about who are the next ones, the guys who are good, have the ability and understand and how to work, those are the ones that are going to be successful, and the ones who know how to work and maybe are a little short on talent will get as far as they can go, and then the ones who don't know how to work, it doesn't matter how talented they are. Gotcha. I've seen a lot of talented guys that I don't know what they're doing today. You know?
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of guys with less talent that get the process that have made a lot of money.
Value the process. If anything we can learn from this interview, definitely value the process. So speaking of next ones, before we sign off, any next ones we should know about, be on the lookout for, any aspiring college, high school guys that you think going to have a big year this season?
I mentioned, we were talking earlier, this kid Brian Fobbs from Towson State. He trained with us this summer. He's terrific. You know, 6'5", 6'6", strong, can really shoot the ball. Again, small conference, so he's not going to get a lot of hype, but I think this time next year, or you might hear a little bit about him making a roster. He's a guy that we were really impressed with this summer. Trying to think of, you know, again, the rookies we've had. This is our best non-drafted rookie class. You know, with Kai, with Terrence Davis, and with Kendrick. You know, and even though Kendrick was a year ago's draft, he played in the G League a year. You know, so those guys are up and coming for sure.
Nice. Yeah, we'll definitely be on the lookout for them. Kendrick's one of my favorite guys. I love his story from Illinois to Oakland, so you know, really turned it around. So I'm happy to see where he's at. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it. For all our viewers, make sure to follow Impact Basketball on social media, Instagram and Twitter, and be on the lookout for more content. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right.